What is a game design document? Well, a GDD is a detailed internal document that covers a number of aspects of the game's design and pre-development. So first up, its main goal is to explain the main vision and scope of the game and to lay out guidelines that the development team can refer back to throughout development. And it can contain anything. It can contain text, obviously, because that's how you communicate in a document. But also it can have charts and diagrams if that's easier to explain something, or concept designs, and those can be like hand-drawn pictures or pictures from Google, links to music, videos, anything. But you need to focus on things that will be important to the people developing the game. Now I'll go into more detail on that. So that can be like information about the gameplay, the story, the UI. And if you're going to be showing this to investors, then it will also be about like the target audience, the genre, budget, timeline. So now, why make a GDD? Now, some of you might be thinking, this is a waste of time. You have it all in your brain. Why do you need to write it down? Well, our brains are not really organized. So, number one, this can organize your thoughts neatly. You might also be in like a group in a team. All of you have been having like a bunch of random ideas for what to do in your game. So a GDD will nicely string all of that together in a nice document and lay it all out clearly. And then once you do that, you can use it as a pitch document. And remember, you don't have an actual game at this point. You just have a bunch of ideas that you've written down in your document. And then you can show that to potential investors or even collaborators and hopefully convince them to help you out. And then finally, it can have a record of all of your ideas. And you can use that to refer back to throughout the development process. So like it can have a timeline or a bunch of steps that you can check to make sure you're still on the right track. Or it can have research about a specific mechanic so you know how to implement it when it's time. Or it can just have a bunch of ideas listed down. So like once you're midway through development, got all the basics laid out, now it's time for the specific details, and you cannot remember what the enemy's third attack was supposed to be, well then consult your GDD, it's written down in there. Alright, and now just a short little history about game design docs. Traditionally, they used to be like hundreds and hundreds of pages long. Like, I'm going to show you one example that's like 400 pages long. But modern GDDs aren't like that. And also, those early ones were written on physical paper, so you have to be very detailed and organized, because if you try and change what you wrote on physical paper, that's a real hassle, right? You need to scratch out a bunch of paragraphs, add annotations, gets really messy. So they were all really detailed, really organized, and treated as the definite, rigid plan that's not going to change. But nowadays we don't do that anymore, because number one, we have digital paper now, Google Docs, Microsoft Word, all of that. So modern GDDs are considered more flexible living documents. You can go in and update it whenever you want. And so during development, you'll realize that some of your ideas work, but some of them don't work out the way you'd hoped. You might need to tweak some ideas, or maybe get rid of an idea, or add new ideas. So that's why modern GDDs are flexible living documents. You can update it whenever you want, go in and change stuff. And also they're way shorter, because as the human species have evolved, we've gotten a lot lazier. So it's no longer 100 plus pages, because no one wants to read all of that. And finally, modern GDDs, you can have like multiple different GDDs for the same game. And each thing can focus on a different aspect. So like a programmer's GDD, that would focus more on the gameplay and the mechanics, so it would use a lot of technical, computer science-y information. But a graphic designer's GDD, that might be more about the art style, so it would have like a bunch of concept designs. And then the story writer's GDD would be like a script for a movie or a choose-your-own-adventure game. So each GDD is completely different. You need to remember what's important to your game and how you're going to show that. And so this is what the average GDD would look like. It's a basic template. So this first paragraph is an introduction. You'll go over what's your game concept. That's most important. If you don't have a good concept, then nobody's going to bother reading the rest of the GDD. So sorry, just a moment. Dang it. Yeah, so clearly explain what your concept is, what the game is, what makes it unique, why people should care, and then you can lay out some expectations for the scope. So like, how complex is your game going to be? what tools or engines you're going to use to make it, what platforms will players use. And then finally, these next two sections aren't really that important if you're like solo or indie. If you're a big game, if you're a part of a big game company, then you'll definitely have to add these two. Or actually, even if you're indie and you like try and get investors or collaborators, then you need to talk about some market research. So what makes your game unique? What other games are similar to this, but at the same time, what makes your game different from those? And who's going to play it and why they're going to play it? Then how much is it going to cost and how long will development take? Yes.
At what point would this basic template not be enough for a game design document that you're going to be using?
Well, I will be going over that soon. I'm going to show you a bunch of examples from other games. Yeah, and then these next two sections, though, that's just for the actual development. So I've just written down what I think is most important, but you could have something else. So like some games, story is not that important. You can get rid of this thing. Or audio, you could split that up into music and sound effects. And you can also add completely new things like accessibility features, animation, all of that. Right? And now here's some examples. And these, like you said, they are not how my basic template is. These are all professional things, really big. So first up, Star Wars Battlefront. Who here has played this game?
Which one?
2004.
Okay.
Not a lot of people? Great, that will help me. Because first up, the overview. So, Star Wars The Frontline, that's what it was originally called, brings to the console a whole new type of game. Part fast-paced shooter, part tactical combat. The Frontline finally gives gamers what they have been asking for. To be on the front lines in a major Star Wars battlefield. Blah blah blah, you choose your character, choose your vehicle, control the battlefield, you play as one of the 4 factions on famous planets, and then there's some sample gameplay. So all GDDs, they all start with an overview, and so this gives you a general idea of what the game is. And then after that, they will go into more detail on the actual development. So this focuses more on the gameplay, so it uses a lot of technical language like how the camera physics is going to work and how the player controls are going to work, player physics. And also, this one is 426 pages long. The average GDD is not that big. The average one, I'd say, is more like 10 to 100 pages. And yeah, this has a lot of information about the gameplay and the mechanics. But now this next example, the Doom Bible. This focuses more on the story. And so first you got information about all of the characters and then an actual script for how the story is going to work. And also, this is only 79 pages long, so each GDD is like vastly different. And Battlefront focused more on the gameplay, whereas Doom Bible focused more on the story. But also another thing that's special about Doom is that the guy who made this, Tom Hall, he wrote this document to be like a master reference guide to how the game's going to be. It was literally his Bible, that's why it's called the Doom Bible. But then the later people who actually developed the game, they decided this is not the way they wanted to go. It's too story heavy, they wanted to focus more on a fast-paced action game. So they scrapped a lot of ideas from this GDD. So yeah, some of you, when you must start making your GDD, you might be thinking this is like, everything is going into this, you're going to do it exactly the way it happens, but that's not always the case. Yes?
Obviously, at the beginning of development, I guess even when starting creating the game engine, the GDD didn't look like this, like immediately.
Yeah.
It had to go over time. So what would the timeline kind of look like of like the Doom Bible over time versus like the Star Wars Battlefront one over time?
Well,
like,
I don't know what
how much is okay to how much is acceptable to start before you start on your like game engine?
Well, I don't know what the exact timeline for this would be. What would you say?
Quite often documents will have a timeline. So.
I say it just takes however long it takes you to brainstorm.
Yeah.
When do you know when to add to it?
What do you mean?
Like, when you start, because when you start, like you said in the beginning, whenever you start doing a game design document, well, whenever you start making a game, you should always start with the game design document.
Yeah.
When do you leave from the game design document phase to like the actual creative phase?
Well, it can depend. Like some people would be like, once they've gotten all the ideas written down, they can't think of any more new ideas, then they'll just start developing. But for other people, they can be just like constantly updating the GDD as you go along. And the next example is that actually.
I was going to say,
You'll never be done the document until the game is probably done, because this is your reference sheet. You will go back and forth and constantly change things.
This one specifically has, you can go down.
Yeah.
That there, yep. Yeah, there's a page before it. Yeah.
Oh, no, it's over. Wait, you might be thinking
Page
of
before it, page before it.
Okay.
Yes, there you go. There's the revision
Oh,
list. So
revision
that's
list.
when they made their changes and kind of, that's a timeline. So they made the change, they had their initial version, which is probably, they had the idea, let's put down what we have. Then they would have a meeting a couple days later, a bit later, and they'd say, okay, these are our new ideas, let's add these. This is what we want to change from our old thing. And they'd note down the date and then they'd go through and change all the things. I believe this one is the finished version.
Yes, it is. For the original
So you won't get to
GTA.
see all the changes that they made, but what they had at the end.
Also, this is the GDD for the original GTA game, and it was originally called Race and Chase. And they also used 2 different fonts in this GDD. So like things in Times font is what was officially discussed at a meeting, and then things in Chicago were later added on while they were designing the GDD.
So we should do this for Chronicle.
Yeah,
Yes.
so you'll go through as you're making it, and you'll change things in here.
Yeah.
There's also other like development documents that you'll do as you make the game.
Now
as
check
well.
this one out. It has annotations all over the place. And so this was for Deus Ex, but it was originally called Shooter Majestic Revelations. And these guys just couldn't make up their mind on what they wanted to do. So there's like annotations all over the place, then there's certain things that are being scratched out. Let me try to find an example. Yeah, like that paragraph scratched out, then they've got annotations all over the place. And also, so Battlefront, if you read that, it's like lots of technical, professional language. This feels more like the developer were just like monologuing. This is their diary or their journal. So oddly, you almost never hear designers talking about the importance of playing a role. This to us seems shallow and even dangerous. This design doc is just the guy monologuing about what he thinks a game should be. Yeah. And then the final example is Grim Fandango. This is a puzzle game, and this is vastly different from the other ones that I showed. I tried to show you examples that like each thing is unique and different. So Battlefront, very long, focuses on gameplay. Doom, a bit shorter, focuses on the story. GTA and Deus Ex, it's like annotations all over the place because they kept changing their mind, updating the GDD as they went along. Now this but they were all like text, just a bunch of text explaining stuff. Grim Fandango is just a bunch of flowcharts. So each GDD is completely different. You need to, it depends on what type of game you are making and what you think is important to show other people. And also what the best way to do it is. So like for some people, the best way to do it would be to have a bunch of text like in Battlefront. And for other people, it would be a flowchart like this. So you just need to remember what makes your game important, how you want to show it to other people, and that's how you make your GDD. All right. Any other questions before we start the exercise? Yep.
How do you create a budget?
That is another topic altogether.
Yeah, that is.
Okay, like do you even like consider it like in your GDD or no?
Yeah, well, yeah. If you're being like really professional, if you're just an indie game dev or a solo, then you probably won't have to worry about it. But if you're a big game company or you're trying to get other investors, then yeah, definitely you'd have to add a budget. And so you can just like approximate how much you think like every developer's salary, and then also like to get assets and the game engine, all of that would be considered in it.
Okay.
Any other questions? Nope. All right, so now the exercise. If you're in 230 right now or you have your own personal project, then just go through that GDD, work on it, and we will give you feedback later. But if you have absolutely no idea what to do right now, like no game at all, then choose a famous game and try to do this. Write about its concept, the target audience, at least one subsection from gameplay, and one other subsection. All right, I am finished ranting for the day, or for the hour at least.
Clap, clap, clap. Clap, clap, clap.